Hi, this is Tasha Dockery, and this is my final speech. You guys, we finally made it. So, let me introduce my cameraman. This is Dee, and this is the rest of my audience.
Even the kids. Wow.
Okay. When I was and when I went into college right out of high school, I decided I was going to major in psychology. One of the first things I remembered about my introductory psychology class was when my instructor was teaching us about Sigmund Freud. He always said kids or is. In case you don't know, I'll give you a flash, like a flash course in Sigmund Freud. He had 3 different types of personalities. Is was the very first part and the most important part because it started in childhood. Is are most concerned with themselves, their desires, their needs. So now, can you understand why kids are called is? Well, there's one kid I know that's not a is. Her name is Colleen Marie Smith. She's presently 16 years old, and I've been following her and her progress for the last about 10 years or so. For the past 13 years, she's been living with her father. Now why, you might ask, would a child live with her father when normally it's the mother that would have custody? Well, the answer to that was because when Colleen was just 3 years old, her mom went to jail for drug addiction and prostitution. And then, when she was barely 9 years old, her mother's pimp approached her, shot her in the leg, and tried to beat her when she tried to escape. He wanted to have sex with her. Now, despite all of the hardships that she's had to endure, especially at such a young age, Colleen has done her part in helping other young people in her community in similar situations, and she counts her blessings every day. Personally, I cannot imagine living without knowing my mother as such a major part of my life, but Colleen does it, and you cannot see any effects of only having just her father's love. Even at the tender age of 3, when she couldn't even properly say her name and refer to herself as Collie, she would ask about where her mother was and accepted that her mother had done something bad and needed to do something to redeem herself. Edward, who was Colleen's father, heard of a group called Alateen and took Colleen to her first session when she was about 6 years old. He was afraid that sweeping the problem under the rug would lead to a bigger problem. Alateen, according to the Al-Anon webpage, home webpage, is for young people who have fallen into despair or confusion as a result of a caregiver or a family member's drug addiction or alcoholism. As it turns out, exposing Colleen to that group gave her the knowledge to overcome the feeling of inadequacy and hopelessness of not having her mother readily accessible to her. There was a young man who had lived with his abusive, alcoholic father for over 5 years. This boy was 8 the first time his father hit him, and he was barely 10 when his uncle raped him. 7-year-old Colleen held his hand and stroked his head continuously during his 3rd session. This boy cried endlessly. When everything came to an end, Colleen was still stroking this boy's head, holding his hand. The counselor was there to tell him that they had done nothing wrong and that all the love that he needed was right inside that room. Apparently, Colleen never stopped holding that boy's hand, and they've become the best of friends. The day Colleen was shot, she had arrived home from school to a note from her father saying he had to run back to his office to pick up some paperwork. She had gone into her bedroom and was starting her homework when she heard a sound coming from the living room. Well, she expected to see her father. She got ready to jump on him, just like she always would. Suddenly, she realized that the man standing in her living room was not her father, nor was it anybody that she knew. Can you imagine how she felt when she looked into the man's face? The look of the man's eyes startled her and terrified her. It screamed trouble. As the man charged her, he began chanting Colleen's mother's name. Kimberly, Kimberly, Kimberly. Come to Papa, baby Kimberly. You know what I expect from you. It's time for you to drink my juice. You know you crave it. Don't you run from me. Don't you run. Just as Edward walked in the door, the man fired his pistol. As a result, Colleen had to undergo months of physical therapy, learning how to make her muscles move the way that she wanted them to. But you never heard her complain. All she said was when I visited her was, Mama T, at least I'm still here. Daddy can still kiss me and you can still hug me. I can't imagine not being able to hug my sweet Colleen. Now, at 16, Colleen has graduated high school and she's preparing to enter her first year at Howard University this fall. She has set up 2 support groups in the Metro DC area, one for children of alcoholics and drug addiction, and one for victims of weapon-based assault. I tip my hat to her and to other young people around who've been able to overcome the statistics, keep their head over water, and truly succeed. I have learned that 1 in 4 children have someone close to them who has succumbed to alcoholism or drugs. I also learned that in the year Colleen was shot, 2003, there was 2,827 children and teens who died from gun-related incidents. That is more children than there was like soldiers who got shot and killed from 2003 to 2006 in Iraq. Thank God my Colleen wants to help other young people find the acceptance and love that every child deserves. She's here in Howard to prepare for a career either, she says, as a child psychologist or as a lawyer who will practice on behalf of victimized children. Thank God for her. Thank you for listening.
Good job, Todd.